We're live on YouTube with another exciting issue of Mutants and Masterminds. Let's jump straight to our daring heroes. I will get each of you to describe what is your hero doing in his daily life. I know that you're both public heroes. Yeah, that is your day job. You are professionals in the world of crime fighting. So describe what that looks like, cold open, day to day.
Kevin, you go first.
Okay, I'll go ahead and go first. So my list has opened an investigation, and so he's a PI. So people come to him with strange occurrences, and he tries to figure out what's going on. So what he'd be doing right now is probably sitting in his office, either listening to the news to hear about any big super battles, or waiting for some clients.
Perfect. And what does Mindless look like as he's waiting? Is he wearing spandex, or does he have a bathrobe on, and what does his office look like?
His office is pretty cluttered. He's got stacks of paper everywhere, DVDs strewn across the desk, all kinds of stuff like that. He's got kind of a shitty laptop.
Just like me.
And as for what he's wearing jeans and a t-shirt. And I don't know if you know what an Ouroboros is.
Ouroboros?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's got that in gold on the middle of his t-shirt.
Nice.
And then he's got a leather jacket on.
All right. And for the viewing audience, at Ouroboros, it's a snake eating its own tail. So he's got that golden snake eating its own tail, forming a circle representing eternity and infinity and reincarnation and regurgitation. Maybe not that last one. What about Elios? What is he doing? We have Mindless, the man with no mind, poring over his various cases and research. What is Elios doing as we join him?
Elios is at this moment walking on a sidewalk, going to his daily job as a volunteer for a kind of poor, not restaurant, but poor
soup kitchen.
Yeah, soup kitchen, exactly. Going to the soup kitchen, he keeps reminding himself of how he got on this world, since he's not native from our universe. Elios is actually coming from another universe where good and evil, light and darkness are physical beings, and him being one of them. He's the one and last of his kind. He was there at the destruction of his universe, and its destruction actually ripped apart the fabric of the reality, and he was sucked in and spewed out on the other side into our world. So he doesn't know much about humankind itself. He likes to walk among the mere mortals as one of them in his guise of Gabriel Day. But his real identity is Elios, the champion of light. He does whatever he can to do good and help people around him. So whatever he hears, an accident, a car chase, someone crying that this kitten is up a tree, he goes and help. His usual costume is completely white, with a white cape. There's also some kind of golden rays coming out of the chest along the costume itself, representing the sun. And he looks like your typical spandex and cloak good guy.
All right. Is that what he's wearing as he's going to the soup kitchen, though? Or
No, this guy's jeans with a little shirt and stuff. Look kind of your average middle-aged man, simply.
All right.
Just when he hears some trouble, he just goes and go and help. I said it's not a rip-off from Superman. Don't worry.
Not at all. Not at all.
Ooh.
All right. So our daring heroes going about their business, investigating crime, helping the poor and needy, and perhaps half a world away. I don't know where you are located, but if we were to pan across the Atlantic Ocean towards that great peninsula of Italy, we would see Venice, peaceful and glittering in all the white marble rising up out of the sea. Perhaps a young couple on a gondola, gazing lovingly at each other in this picturesque landscape. And then a disruption occurs. The water starts to shake and tremble. The waves start to lap at the sides of the canals. The canals spill over. People run, fleeing away from this flood, unanticipated by the hydraulic engineers of Venice. And as the EMTs spring into action, as the fire department starts to evacuate people, and indeed the radio stations all switch and say, we need to evacuate the city. Just as things are starting to get under control, as the water level is rising, that is when the figures start to emerge, dripping, covered in chitinous armor, like these humanoid crab creatures. The people stop, frozen in shock, as they watch one, and then three, and then seven, and then a whole army of these seeming crab people coming up out of the water, marching forward with these masks of chitin betraying no emotion. And just as they're starting to approach, one of the police officers on duty who's trying to help a woman get out of her car, which has had the engine flooded, turns and he walks up to the creatures and he raises his hand. He's about to speak. And then the crab creature reaches forward with its enormous pincer. It opens its claw and a blast of black, ichorous, dripping energy rips forward, and the police officer explodes in black ichor. Screams echo through the streets of Venice. Let's jump back to our daring heroes. How do you find out about this? And what does it look like when you spring into action?
Well, go ahead.
Okay, I'll go ahead. So, walking on the sidewalk as I was going to the soup kitchen, passing in front of a store where they sell televisions, we can see on the news what's happening in Venice. My character stopped immediately. Elios look at the TV and starts running toward the little hallway, little side streets. When he's out of range of people's sight, he just tear off his shirt and go full bullet toward Venice to help as quickly as possible. You can hear in the sky the boom of the sound barrier being broken by his speed as he darts forward at, what is it, Mach 4 or 5 or something like that, toward Venice to help.
Perfect. And what about Mindless, the man with no mind?
So, Mindless is there just kind of trolling on the internet, trying to find out what's going on. And so as soon as the story breaks on the internet, he sees it. And he's like, I got to get there. So what he does is he calls his buddy that he helped when his wife was cheating on him. His buddy happens to be a superhero as well with flight, so he flies him to Venice.
Okay, who is your buddy here? Let's get our NPC hero. Could this be Menagerie, the flying Birdman type hero, or who is this hero, your sidekick we're bringing in?
Okay, I'm gonna call him Charter.
Okay,
and I'm gonna say, yeah, he's kind of a Birdman kind of like Hawkman.
Sounds good. I'm trying to see. I think I actually have a picture of a bird hero that I've got. All right, so we've got Charter, the bird hero, coming in with his golden talons and brown wings. Maybe he's got you up in the full Nelson. He's flying you at more than human speed across the Atlantic Ocean. And perhaps you can see that glint, the Lord of Light flying alongside you. Now, does Elios travel as a light beam or just as fast as the speed of light?
Just as fast as speed. It doesn't turn into light itself, but it does emit lights behind him as he goes along, like a shooting star.
Nice. All right, so there we have Charter. So I'll get you guys to roll initiative. So it's a D20. You should have an initiative modifier on your sheet for the psychic. I believe you're +1.
Let me double check.
What is supposed to be initiative? Is it like agility or something?
Yeah, if it's your agility, you may have other bonuses as well, but the base is your agility.
Okay, I don't have any bonuses. 23. 22, sorry, 22.
All right. Well, that's
Yeah.
that's a badass roll there.
Oh, he's quick.
Yeah, my agility is 1.
Yeah, so roll your D20 and add +1 there. Mindless. 5. Okay, let me get my dice. I'm going to see how fast our NPCs are moving. All right, somewhere between 5 and 23, so they're going to go in the middle. Elios, you're the first on the scene, or do you slow down to wait for your companions, for Charter and Mindless?
I slow down a little bit to make part of the crossing of the ocean with them. But when we get close to land and I can feel that something is terribly wrong over there, I'm sorry, but I just go full throttle ahead and try to save as many people as possible before those crab people do too much damage. So the first thing I do when I arrive on the scene is, as I see the crab people trying to attack the civilians, I dash forward, grabbing those civilians away from their attack, even shielding them with my own body and cloak as I pass by, so they don't get splash damage from those weird-looking blackish rays that just bring some bad memories.
Okay, perfect. So make a super speed test to see how many civilians you're able to save. I believe you have super speed 2. So roll your D20 and add 2.
22. Yes.
Badass. Okay. So Elios, you're flying forward. You can see Venice. It rises up out of the water, all the canals, but the water is now roiling and bubbling and overflowing its bounds. And as you're coming forward, you see the crowds of people fleeing, and you think you see some of the buildings shaking and tremoring as if they're about to collapse into the water. In addition to those crab people, those seeming humanoid crustaceans, you also see there are a few giant elephantine crab creatures crawling out after them, and they're swarming with these humanoid abominations. I'll actually get you to make a perception test as well before we describe your daring rescue there. So your perception should be your awareness plus.
17.
All right. So on a 17, you're able to see that although these things certainly at first glance and through the news feed, which is like a crappy cell phone feed, through the news feed, they certainly look like monsters. But now that you're getting close, you're not so sure that these are biological entities. You see that their joints are a little too uniform, especially the giant crab creatures. Just the way they're shaped and moving and composed, you think that these are actually battle suits, that these are mechanical, but they're shaped to look like living organisms, either stylistically or as a disguise. You're not sure.
Okay.
That being said, describe that 22 super speed. You're able to clear out most of the civilian population. You don't quite save all of them on a 22, but perhaps on Mindless's turn, he'll catch those last few. So what does that look like?
So I fly forward full speed, catching people as much as I can, bringing them to a safe place and rushing back and circling again, and getting hit by the attacks of the creatures from the sea that, well, I'm shielding people. When the building starts collapsing, I go and push on it, grab someone who was falling from the window, catch him as he falls, and just push the building on the other side, bringing that person to safety. Doing that for as long as it takes for my friend to Mindless to be there. And as soon as I see him approaching the scene, I move forward toward the crab people and stand. Well, not stand because I'm actually always flying, so hovering over the place, looking at them in a very very menacing way, like, don't come here.
All right. Now, since you're interposing yourself, you're getting hit by some of these inky black beams of putrid energy. Make an intellect test for me. I believe you have 0 intellect, I think. So just roll a flat d20.
Oh, that's good. 17.
All right. So on a 17, as one of these blasts pours over your body, you clearly have a superior toughness that it's not able to do you very much damage. I'm just going to double check your toughness, actually, but
my toughness is 12, and I have impervious toughness as well at 10.
All right, 10 will certainly do it. But as you're hit with one of these beams, it sparks a trigger of your memory. You felt this power before in your home dimension. To find it here will be most shocking to you, but you believe that this is some remnant of your home dimension. So you certainly will have an inkling of who may be behind this invasion from the ocean. And that being said, let's see. It's actually because you rolled that 5, Mindless. It's up for the invaders from the sea to take their turn next.
Nice.
And also, of course, Charter, your good falcon friend.
Yes.
So I'm just going to roll Charter first. So Charter sets. Well, actually, you can fly to Mindless, just not as fast as Charter.
Exactly.
So he'll look down at you, and he'll look over at the people being menaced, and he'll say, the rest is yours, buddy. And he throws you off into the sky, which you catch yourself on that cushion of air from your telekinesis.
Yes.
And he darts forward, and he does not take any hits from the black beams. He's not nearly as tough as Ilios, but he's flying through and around these beams, and he's catching up as many civilians as he can and flapping and pulling them up onto the roofs, away from the direct line of fire of these black inky energy beams. So he's actually saved the remainder of the civilians. Mindless, you won't need to worry about any more civilians for the immediate concern. And then our crab people, or what appear to be crab people, are continuing to menace, but they're very distracted. They've got these two superhumans flying around. They're trying to shift their focus and blast at you, Ilios, and also at Charter. But they're very inaccurate. They're startled. They're discombobulated. So they're not able to hit you. However, I'll mention again, some of the buildings are shaking on their foundation, and you're concerned that some of these buildings might collapse into the sea at some point. They haven't done so yet, but there's dust rising out of them, and they're starting to tilt at a dangerous angle. That being said, we're back to Mindless. It is your turn.
Okay. So the civilians have been helped. Mindless is going to go ahead and, since he's floating with his psychic powers, he's going to go ahead and sit cross-legged, and he's going to raise his hands to his head to help focus his mental energy, and he's going to go ahead and float down, and then in front of the these invaders, but kind of behind Ilios some. And then if he's got enough actions left, he's going to go ahead and do a mental blast on the closest one of the crab people.
Okay. Now these, so I'll just let you know, your power level 10, your big time hero, the mental blast can target one enemy at a time. But you're so powerful, it might be a waste of your turn to only pick off one. You could use your telekinesis to take care of a whole bunch of them all at once. So that might be more efficient.
Well, then let me ask you this. Is that car still available over there?
Absolutely.
Well, then let me go ahead and grab the car with my telekinesis and throw it into the crab people.
All right. And there are, of course, the crab infantry, but there's also those giant crab-like mechas that are walking around.
I want to try and hit one of the mechas.
Okay. So make a telekinesis test.
Okay.
I believe your telekinesis is 8. So roll a d20 and add 8.
Okay. So that's going to be... $26.
26. So you're able to completely destroy one of the giant crab mecha. Describe what that looks like.
Okay. Mindless is going to go ahead and reach his hand out. It's going to glow with blue energy. He's going to go ahead and lift the car, and he's going to aim it right there. And then he's going to go, "Roar!" And the car flies across. Now, when it hits the mecha, it hits the head initially. And so the mecha, like, leers back a little bit and gets wobbly. And then the whole thing just kind of collapses.
Okay, perfect. So we're down one mecha. So let's say there's 4 remaining in the immediate vicinity. There were 5 initially. So we'll come back to Ilios. It's your turn. 4 mecha. There's a bunch of infantry. There's people on the roofs. There's buildings shaking and quivering. Perhaps their underwater foundations are under attack. What do you do?
Okay, as I said, right now I'm hovering in front of them as
Mhm.
showing that they will not just go by unchecked. So
So do you want to make like an intimidation test, or maybe like a taunt to draw all their fire at you?
I look at them without necessarily making an intimidation check, but I say in a very strong voice, "This ends now." I turn over my shoulder to look at Mindless. I'll try to take the big ones. And I dash forward, slipping under a big one, try to lift it up as I start flying up and try to slam it on the next big one I can find.
Perfect. So make either a strength test or other relevant tests. Perhaps dexterity just to aim your throw. I
Oh,
think strength is
I'm not throwing, I'm slamming it. I'm
okay.
just
Well, then fighting to use it
okay.
as a weapon.
Okay, I'm gonna start with the strength check just to be sure if I can lift it.
You can definitely lift it.
Oh, okay,
It's
I can lift it.
well
Okay,
within your capability.
okay then. 14 for combat.
Okay, so 14, you're able to deal a lot of damage to this crab mecha, but the one you're holding is still operational. So describe what that looks like. Essentially, you've dealt a damage, but it's not a kill on that mecha, not with a 14 total.
Okay, so I slammed it on the other one. The one in my hand is still trying to get loose.
Yeah,
I try to use all my strength and rip it apart in two.
perfect. So it's like straining and creaking, but it hasn't quite been destroyed yet in your hand. At that time, they're all focusing their attack against you. So I think you should either uh, drop the mecha and make dodge, or just take the hit and maintain hold of the mecha. Which do you think Ilios would do?
Honestly, he will take the hit. You're gonna
Sounds good.
keep on holding on this mecha. Maybe try to slam dunk it on another one afterward.
Perfect. So make a toughness test to take this hit. Believe you have plus 12 to your toughness. So
Yep,
roll a d20 and add 12.
22.
All right, so you're fine. You've got the mecha above your head. You're just trying to rip it apart. They're all blasting you. The infantry with their claws. The other mecha maybe raises its giant claw and smashes into your side, and you're just glaring at it and just tearing at the one over your head at that
But
point.
I'm certain that it's a mecha. That it's not a living being, right?
Yes, you're quite
Okay.
certain of that.
Yeah, because I would know anyway because I have cosmic awareness to help me figure out things around me.
Perfect. Actually, thank you for reminding me of that. Mindless, do you want to make an awareness test and or a power test? I think mental awareness you have +2.
I do.
Yeah, but regular awareness you have +6. So just make a regular awareness test.
Okay, that's going to be a 10.
10. Okay, so make also a mental awareness test.
Okay, that's a 15.
All right. So on that regular awareness test, you might not be instantly aware that these are mecha, unless you're
Okay.
reading Elios's mind, because he knows. But visually, you're not. You think they're crab people at first. But with your mental awareness, again, you're able to detect sapient minds. But the minds of these creatures, as you're reading them, just feeling them, they feel very familiar. They don't feel alien and ichthytic as they might if they were fish or crabs or eels or whatever. They feel
Right.
very human in their aura. You're almost thinking that, you know, these might somehow have human minds inside of them or behind them. But visually, you still kind of think they look like crab people, though. So I don't know what you'll do with that information, but
Okay.
there it is. Now, I'm going to make a test here for our good friend Charter. Let's see if he's able to accomplish anything this turn. He surely is not. So, well, Charter is he's seeing you guys engaging in the fight. He doesn't have that super toughness. He's trying to pull people off the roof and ferry them away from the city, away from the water. He's moving pretty slow, unfortunately. He's not very coordinated, but he's doing his best to help. And then we'll go back to you, Mindless, the man with no mind.
All right. Well, so what Mindless is going to do at this point is he's going to try to read their minds to determine, are these really humans? Are these crab people? What he's going to try and do is break into their memories to see what their lives were like before the crabness.
Perfect. So make a mind reading test. You have +5 to mind reading.
Okay, that's a 21.
All right, 21's a great success. So just picking, you know, any random single member, you probe into their mind, you read their memories, their feelings, their thoughts. So the first thing that might occur to you is that this creature, this person, as you realize it is a person, and you see the memories, and you see him getting hyped up and ready for the mission, that he's going to go out for his father. He is going to show the world that this family is superior, that they are going to conquer the world and bring everybody else under their sway, because he is a prince of the world. His father will be king, and everyone else, they're peasants and peons, and they should bow down to him. And he's strapping on his biomechanical armor, this chitinous crustacean shell. He's got his crab claw blaster on one hand. And as he turns, and this is in this huge chamber full of other soldiers, full of other Marines ready to go out and fight for their father, you can see that all of these people, Mindless, have your face. And then you realize that their father is your father.
Oh, no.
And you have this horrible dawning awareness that you think that Professor Leviathan, your evil father, being the scientific genius that he is, has cloned you and created his perfect son, and not just one, but a whole army to replace you and conquer the world in his name. And all of this comes into your awareness as you read the mind of yourself, of this clone of you. What's your reaction to this, Mindless? That this whole army are clones of you?
Well, I think Mindless is going to be absolutely aghast at this. I mean, what has his father done? I mean, this is ridiculous. An army of clones? I mean, the old man was already off his rocker. What's he going to do now? So, the next thing that Mindless is going to do is he's going to try and connect to Elios's mind to share what he's learned and to say, hey, they're kind of my brothers, so you might want to go easy on them. but we got to shut him down.
Is it a two-way communication?
Mm-hmm.
Well, mindless, I'm sorry to say that there's deeper darkness hitting into them. It's not just your brothers. Something much afoul is behind this. We have to stop this before it does to this world what it did to mine.
Very well. Let's go ahead and don't kill any of them.
These are machines. It's not a problem.
That's right. Damage their machines. Let the people inside them live.
Oh, yes. I cherish life, even those of villains. But those machines, they're not a problem.
Good.
Perfect. I'll also mention, Mindless, with this information, you know where Professor Leviathan's secret laboratory is. He's built an underwater facility on the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea. So you're aware of this. You can find it very easily. You also realize that while Venice is the first target, he's intending to conquer the entire Mediterranean basin. And he has legions and legions of these clones. But we will come back. Go ahead.
Just a simple question. Is there a monument in front of Cairo right now with a lightning bolt on it?
Sure. Yes. Yes, there is.
Okay, good. Just-
But, we'll call that your turn though, Mindless. It's a mind
Okay.
reading, and we'll come back to Elios. So you have that crab mecha above your head. And at this point, it'll be pretty easy to finish that off. What do you do?
Okay, since I was trying to rip it off and didn't work quite enough on this last turn, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna spot another one that is not damaged yet. Another
Well,
big
there's one that's hitting you over and over, but you're basically invulnerable. So
Okay, so what I do is I launch up with the mecha, then I flip 180 degrees, push it down, just to make sure there's a distance between us when it's gonna hit the other mecha, and I'm gonna slam into them,
perfect.
trying to destroy them both as ones.
So make a fighting or strength test. I think your strength
18.
is higher. Perfect. So with the I think you rolled a 19 last turn, but with those combined, you're able to destroy both of those mecha by slamming them into each other. Now, as they are crushed, the machinery breaks inside of them. You feel another flood of that dark energy. And glancing at the machinery, you see that the power core of each one of these mecha has a tiny sliver of pure negative energy. So you recognize this. You know what this is, where it's from. It's pure shadow, pure evil concentrated into a solid form. And somehow Professor Leviathan has found a way to harness this dark energy and use it as a power source. So each of these battle suits and each of these mecha has a tiny sand-sized sliver of dark matter powering it. So I don't know what you want to do with that information, but there it is.
I start to glow like the sun right now. There's light emanating from me, and I'm getting quite mad right now. I'm not happy with that.
All right, so they are going to attack you again. But so, do you want to take the hit, or do you want to try to evade the blasts? They're firing dark matter energy at you.
Oh, I'm not trying to evade. I just
I didn't figure
move
you were.
forward like it's nothing.
Yeah. So make a toughness test, just in case. You should be perfectly fine.
Holy shit. 30.
You're perfectly fine. Yeah.
Like,
Let's see. So Charter, he's moving slow, but he's managed to evacuate most of the civilians at this point. There's only a few stragglers left in the danger zone. So he's doing a good job on his part. Mindless, you still haven't been targeted. You're sitting cross-legged high above this eerie battlefield, this weird scene of your brothers and sisters battling Elios in their crab armor. What do you do? It's your turn, Mindless.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and use my telepathic illusion, and I'm going to see if I can create an illusion of a Tyrannosaurus Rex in all its glory, and I'm going to make a charge at them.
All right. Roll, I think that's... I'm not sure if you have to target that or not. I think it's automatic and they have to resist.
Okay.
So obviously you would tell Charter and Elios this is an illusion.
Oh, yes, definitely.
But for the crab people, we'll see, or not crab people, but the clones, the other U's. Let's see. So they have rolled a 20 total. And I'm just checking your ability. I think they needed a 14 or higher to resist you. So they've basically they see through your illusion pretty quickly, unfortunately. And I think that's all you can do in your turn.
Okay.
So we'll come back to Elios. So Elios, the crab or the clone army rather is attacking you. You are glowing white hot with light. You're ignoring their attacks. They cannot seem to hurt you. T-Rexes come charging out of the rubble. The crab clones are ignoring their T-Rexes. You think that they're starting to get a little spooked, the clones. So what do you do, Elios?
I move forward very quickly, still flying, grabbing another one of the big mechas, lifting it over my head, and yell to all of the clones, "Go back to the hell where you came from." And I just throw this one to the ground, and I go and slam myself into it.
Perfect. So make a strength or fighting test. I think your strength is higher, but
Yeah, my strength is higher.
yeah,
19.
make a strength. 19.
Yeah, it's not a good one.
Well, we'll say that's enough to destroy that mecha at least. And I'm gonna make a willpower test. They're scared. They rolled a natural 1. So the clone army starts to retreat. You know, they're all done with this blasting away at Superman. They've realized you're bulletproof. Although they're not firing bullets, but regardless. So they're having this not even a fighting withdrawal. They're just fleeing. There's, I believe, one crab mecha left standing, and it's booking it out of there. There's no cover fire. There's no tactical withdrawal. They have been routed. They're fleeing for their lives. And maybe at that point, Charter would swoop in, you know, and use his talons to attack them in the back as they're fleeing. And he can feel some glory, you know, and he can put the beat down on a couple of those infantrymen with his animalistic strength.
Okay, as I see them run away like this, I turn around and focus my attention on the buildings around, if there's any that seem to be in jeopardy or is about to collapse and make damage, probably possibly even hurting people. If that's the case, I just dash forward and try to stop that from happening, or at least moving civilians out of the way.
All right. Well, Charter's taking care of the civilians on his turns, fortunately. Um, there are several buildings on the brink of collapse,
Are they empty?
but they are empty. Yes.
Oh, okay. So I won't bother with that then.
Okay.
I'll turn to my friend Mindless. So, those are your brothers and sisters? I think maybe.
Apparently.
Well,
They're
there's.
all brothers, no sisters.
I I turn toward the remnants of those I've destroyed already, the big mechas, and I point to Mindless, the power source. This is pure evil. So we have to do something about that. How about we pay your father a little visit? Do you happen to know
Well,
where he might be hiding?
I know exactly where he's hiding. He has an underwater lair. And most people would have to look for years to find him on the bottom of the ocean. But I happen to know exactly where it's at.
I hope you know how to swim.
Have you ever heard of the Mariana Trench?
Yes,
That's
I've
where
read
we're
about
going.
that. Excellent. It's deep and dark. I will bring my light to this place.
All right. I was thinking he'd be on the bottom of the Mediterranean, but he could. I guess he could be over in the Marianas Trench. That's that's a ways away.
Yeah,
But
it's a long way.
I know, but it's like the ultimate darkness.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely
well,
is
that's true.
the darkest place in the world. So yeah, sure.
All right. Do we want to take like a really quick break, and then we'll come back for part two? Just because I have to use the washroom.
No problem. Take a little
Okay.
break.
Okay, we'll be right back for part two.
All right. Just finished part one. It's June 2 to do. Yes, and it is fantastic. Okay? Awesome fucking. That's fantastic. Like, I told him my backstory about mindless. Yeah. All of a sudden, his father, Professor Leviathan, is the bad guy. Hey. Hey, you having fun? 677 889. Okay. It's so much more time between now and 10. Yeah, yeah, but really, okay. Hello?
Oh no, she was calling me in Messenger, Kevin. She did it by accident.
Oh, okay.
This is gonna be a short one shot. You guys already found the secret lair. You took care of the invasion force.
We're gonna take care of the bad guys now.
Yeah. Our big underwater superhero battle.
But I don't have much problems going there since I have impervious toughness, but I don't know about my little friend here.
Well, his force field will let him get there. He'll run out of air in his force field eventually, but he should have enough time to get there and get inside. Unless you guys...
I can do the same thing I did last time with my other character and just let him put himself into his bubble and just push him off.
Yep.
We're gonna travel faster that way anyway.
That's true.
Besides, the vacuum of space is not a problem for me either, right?
Yeah, you're easy.
Okay. I hope his force field is strong enough.
Oh, it should be.
Am I going to be using my telekinetic force field to go underwater?
Yep. That's what we're talking
Well,
about, to see how you would survive there. I'm going to carry you there, but you're going to need your force field.
now I'm curious. Kev, can Charter? What are Charter's powers? Can he come along? Does he have like a shark form, or is he only a flying Birdman type hero?
Let's find out. Give me a second. I'm going to roll a die. He has multiple forms, so he can take on multiple beast shapes.
All right.
And, so yeah, I think he would be able to turn into a shark or some or other type of aquatic creature.
Perfect.
Maybe a crazy jellyfish.
I don't know about a jellyfish. I don't know if anybody wants to be turned into a jellyfish.
Hey, I'm not saying he wants to use it, but the power's on the books.
Sounds good. All right. So our daring heroes have just saved Venice. They've repelled a clone army back into the depths of the Mediterranean. They're perhaps standing there on the waterfront, the beautiful marble buildings of Venice rising around them, completely deserted, gazing down into that wine-dark sea of myth and legend, knowing that the great evil of Ilios's home dimension lurks somewhere beneath those waves. Is there any repartee you guys make before you head down into the water?
Helios, let me handle my father.
Very
Don't
well.
kill him.
Oh, I will not kill him. I do not kill.
He will try to make you kill him. He's a
No.
trickster.
The only thing I want to be destroyed is that darkness before it consumes your world, like it consumed mine.
Good. I think we can shut down his clones and get rid of that darkness power that he's harnessed.
And we'll have to find out how he managed to do that. It's very, very dangerous.
I'm glad I don't have to worry about you killing anyone. I'm not accustomed to all the heroes that I work with having such morals.
Charter looks at you like he's offended by that. he had turned into a huge hulking shark man with all these teeth. And as he hears you say that, he transforms into like a friendly dolphin man who would never eat someone.
Mindless points at him and says, "Don't forget New York. You know what you did in New York."
We're not all as powerful as you are, pal. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do just to survive and save lives.
There's always a way to save lives and not take it. You have to find this way within yourself.
Well, I'll just stay behind you two.
Very well.
Mindless, I propose you put on your best shield. I will carry you over there as quickly as possible.
So when Mindless creates the shield, he's actually going to take all of his psychic tentacles that come out of his back. There's like 20 of them, and they're going to go ahead and mesh around and make a bubble. And there's just enough room for Mindless and Charter to get into the bubble, and then he seals it up completely.
Charter doesn't want to go in there.
All right, all right.
I've seen enough hentai to know where this is going, pal. I ain't getting near those tentacles.
Okay, so
Fine.
we give
My
Go your own way.
blowhole is puckered. Stay away from me.
So Charter's gotta go by himself swimming then. It's on the other side of the planet, so might take a while.
Yeah, Charter will perhaps fly there and then dive down.
Okay. So when the bubble is finished and Mindless is ready, and when it gives me the okay sign, I pick up the bubble, put it on my shoulder, and I just push myself up into the atmosphere to actually leave the atmosphere of the Earth and travel as quickly as possible in the depth in the vacuum of space. So there's no friction. I'm just flying like extremely fast. And when we get over the Mariana Trench, I pick my nose forward, not forward, but down, and we just slam ourselves. Well, of course, I slow down a little bit when we hit the water. I don't want to create like the biggest tsunami in history. But when I hit the water, then I push fast toward the depths, and we move to the depths of the Mariana Trenches.
Perfect. Now I'm imagining Charter sees you fly straight up, and he just starts flapping, and he's like, I ain't getting in no bubble. he's flying as fast as he can around the Earth. But, you know, as you guys are coming down, he can see you way in the distance. He can see you coming down, and he's flapping and flapping, trying to catch up to you. So he'll arrive on the scene at a later moment. But you guys go down into I believe it's the Pacific Ocean where we have the Marianas Trench.
Yeah, pretty much the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Mm-hmm. And you start to head down through the clear blue waters of the Pacific, and they become darker and darker until soon the only light around you is emanating from Helios himself. And you see that barren ocean floor. This far out in the ocean, it's just a sea of sandy silt. Coral likes shallower waters. There's no seaweed. Maybe the occasional isopod, but not much. Maybe there's like a rotting whale carcass that's drifted down here, covered in spider crabs and isopods. But you see the trench, which is cleaved into the ocean floor. It's bigger than the Grand Canyon, and you go down into that blackness. The light of Helios, perhaps the first light that's come into this region in 1,000 years, in 10,000 years. And with help from Mindless, he's able to navigate, and Mindless points him in the direction of this research facility, this subterranean, the subaquatic palace that Professor Leviathan has built. And you see it eventually spreading out there on the maybe it's built actually into the canyon walls. Even Professor Leviathan couldn't build in the immense pressure of the bottom of the trench. So it's clinging to the wall of the canyon, carved into the solid rock, but also made of super dense steel, bubbled on the outside to resist this pressure. So how do you guys make your approach? You see the fortress on the side of the canyon of the Marianas Trench. Do you just plow straight through the wall, or do you try to sneak in through an airlock? What do you do?
Your call, Mindless.
I don't think we need to do any more damage because there are people in there that are probably innocent, and I don't want them, or they may just be a hired hand or something, though most of them are probably clones. But even the clones' lives are important. So I don't think we should rush directly into it. I think we should sneak in, and then if necessary, we can do damage from there that maybe won't cause structural damage.
Well, sneaking in is not my specialty, but we can sure find a way inside without breaking this building and making it collapse on itself. There must be an entrance somewhere.
Find the entrance, and I'll make it where you don't glow.
Okay, so as we get closer, I concentrate my light of the ages power to try to figure out a way inside without breaking the walls or anything else.
Well, there are numerous airlocks dotting the outside. They're not very difficult to find.
Right.
Now, as you're approaching, make a stealth test, though. And I think you have a stealth of 0, Helios.
Well,
Yes.
I actually wanted to use my telepathic illusion power to disguise him.
No?
So again, the illusion's automatic. I'll roll to see if the enemy can see through the illusion, which you don't know if they can or not as you're approaching. But I'll also get the stealth tests just in case they do see through the illusion.
Right.
7.
7. And what about you, Mindless? I think you're +2 to stealth on that pre-gen.
I think so too. So that's going to be a 15.
All right. 11 and 15 plus the illusion, which hopefully is the main disguise.
Right.
So you guys are able to come through. Do you come to one of there are 2 kinds of airlocks. They're the giant airlocks that the crab mecha and probably some submarines can come through, mini subs perhaps. And then there are smaller airlocks that people can come through. So I'm presuming you go to one of the small, out of the way, human-sized airlocks.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So you're able to come up to that with the information, mindless, that you pulled from your clone's mind. You already know the combination. So you're able to enter that on the outside, open the airlock valve. You both come in, seal it behind you, and then the water slowly drains out, and the proper air pressure comes inside. And now you see that there are a few kind of deep diving suits right there in the airlock, complete with helmets. So Elios, if you want, you can put one of those on, and it will cover your face and your body.
Actually, he will not, because
Okay.
it's not in his nature to hide in any way. He's just gonna walk in.
Okay. I
Well,
was going to say
he's the
not.
champion of light. Like, he's
Sure.
not gonna be hiding himself.
That's fair. And mindless, of course, you already look exactly like everybody who works here. So you don't even really need much of a disguise.
Yeah, he's not gonna bother with a disguise. Well, maybe he'll put on the suit so that people don't recognize his T-shirt or anything. So he
Well, if you're
doesn't.
standing next to Elios, I don't think it matters because he's not in disguise. Unless you're still using your mental illusion.
I'm
Well,
still using the mental illusion.
Okay.
Yeah, if
okay.
he's hiding me with a mental illusion, that's fine. But Helios is not gonna bother himself with a helmet or anything. He's just gonna walk in. At least he's walking. I could be hovering all the way, which would be actually in his nature, but he's gonna walk.
Okay. So yeah, you're inside the facility. It's all made of this black super steel that's able to resist the pressure. It's all curved to resist that pressure. Square angles don't do well under this pressure. So the whole thing is like a series of pipes and tubes. There are no windows because no transparent material is strong enough to withstand the pressure. So it's all completely enclosed, very claustrophobic. And it's built almost like a series of bubbles coming out of the side of the canyon wall. Each of these huge habitats or pods has been built separately and then attached together like metallic fish spawn, big enough for you to come inside of and explore. Mindless, again, in your telepathy, you've got a whole schematic of the building. You know the facility like the back of your hand, just as well as your clone knew this facility. So you're able to navigate very easily. And you know that Professor Leviathan has several laboratories and several quarters for himself to stay in and live and sleep in. There's a mess hall, there's a submarine bay, there's the mecha repair facility. But right now, with the operation underway, you know that the central control room is probably where you're going to find your father for this confrontation. And it's this huge, almost spherical room. The floor is flat, but all the walls and everything are spherical. There are control panels all around this central tower that rises up 30 feet with this kind of spiral staircase coming up around it. And the upper ceiling is all computer screens. So standing on the top of this spire, Professor Leviathan can look around all these different screens. He has his own control panel there. And then 30 feet below him, there's a whole floor of technicians and engineers working to coordinate his invasion of the surface world. So that is, you believe, where you're going to find him. how do you approach this room?
Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to let Elios know about the room, so that he's prepared when we find it.
Okay.
Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to recommend that we just calmly walk into the room. I can pass any security clearance, and when we get inside, I'm going to point Elios at my father and let him go.
Good boy.
Perfect. All right, so you guys are walking through the corridors towards that central control room. You pass several technicians, wearing these kind of jumpsuit uniforms. They all look exactly like you, Mindless. Your clones, your brothers that have been raised from birth, conditioned by your father to be his perfect, obedient children. In a way that makes
set them free
their minds. That's right. And in a way that makes them child soldiers. And we know that's evil.
Yes.
So eventually, and they take no particular notice of you. They might nod and then continue on their way. It appears your illusion has worked, that they don't recognize Elios as anything but another clone of you. Or maybe you made him invisible. Did you disguise him or just make him straight invisible?
No, I disguised him as one of the clones.
Okay. Yeah, so they just think, oh, there's another two of us walking
But
around.
I never mentioned that to Elios, so he doesn't realize that he's wearing a disguise.
Yeah, I'm just walking forward like I'm
He
not
thinks
even caring about
they're
them.
just ignoring him for whatever reason.
Like the Borg.
So I'm just walking forward. I'm not even looking at the technicians. I'm just focusing on where I'm going in a very very powerful way. I'm walking forward until we get to the door. I'm not caring about the rest. I just want to stop this madness from happening.
Perfect. So you come forward. Finally, the last door is opened in this huge spherical chamber, rows and rows of control panels and technicians. The computer screens on the ceiling make this look almost like a small globe. It's like 100 feet above you. And that huge spire in the center, 30 feet up, and you can see there in that distance your father. What does Professor Leviathan look like, Kevin?
Professor Leviathan is kind of a chubbier guy, so he's not thin, but he's not fat either. It's muscle, and he's got he's wearing a lab trench coat, and he's got his mechanical Leviathan arms, his tentacles coming out from there, very Doc Ock, and he wears a pin on his lapel that's also the snake eating itself.
All right. What does he look like facially? How old is he? And is he bald with a beard, or does he have is he completely clean shaven? Does he have a cyborg eye? What does he look like facially?
Well, he is bald. He doesn't have a beard or anything like that, but he does have a gem that's implanted into his ear that allows him to control different computer systems.
Perfect. And what does this actually? Let's say that gem, whatever color it used to be, it's black now, and there's this almost black glow coming from it, like an aura of shadow. You can see his eyes are completely black as well. And standing next to him up on that platform, there's a woman. And she has pale white skin, long black flowing hair. Her eyes are also completely black. and she's wearing a black bodysuit. It seems to absorb all the light around her. She almost looks like a human shadow, just a black humanoid figure standing there next to Professor Leviathan. Elios, you will probably immediately recognize the aura of power coming off of this woman, that she has been infected by the great darkness of your realm, that a small piece of the great darkness has come to reside within her, and she has spread that infection into Professor Leviathan. So how do you guys make yourselves known? They're up there working. You could see the professor is kind of ranting and raving about Venice, about why are you withdrawing? My children, you've let me down. You know, so what do you, how do you make yourselves known?
Well, as we cross the doors to this room, I start, instead of walking, I start hovering again, lifting myself up, getting brighter and brighter as I see the darkness in front of me next to the professor. And in my mind, I tell Mindless, he's all yours, but she's mine. And I scream, Tenebra! Your last day has come! You will not take this world! And as it turns around, I just slam myself into it. Full speed.
Perfect. You do have the initiative.
While he's rising up, Mindless drops the illusion.
All right, so there's a split second. She turns around. Her eyes go wide in startled panic, and then you just come in and tackle her. If you can make a fighting test, roll fighting.
All right. So that would be 24.
All right, let me just pull her
Nope,
up
26, actually.
26. That's a big time hit. So now she is going to make a toughness save against your damage. So she's got a 28, and your damage. What is your damage?
10.
10, and we always add plus 15. Every other test we add plus 10 because she gets a d20. You get a plus 10. But damage is the one exception. You get plus 15 rather than plus 10. Everything else plus 10. Damage is plus 15.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's 25 is what she was trying to beat. And what did I say that she got? 24? Did she miss it by, let's see. No, she just rolled a 20. So that's 5 points. Is your 25, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So if you beat her by less than 5 points, then it's a wound. 5 or more, it's a wound plus she's dazed. So describe how you deal her a wound. You've injured her in some way. She's still in the fight, but she's dazed. She's going to be limited interaction on her turn. What does this look like? You tackle her, maybe fly her up into the screen. The whole screen is.
I tackled her and slammed her against one of the biggest beam holding the place I can find, something that I know that would resist the impact of our two bodies hitting it. And when she touches it, I slam her right cross straight to the face with the big light coming out of it. Wham! It just brightens up the whole place when I hit her.
Perfect. So, and I'm just keeping the initiative that we'd already rolled. So we're on to our NPCs. So Tenebra, as you called her. Write that down. Tenebra has been slammed into the wall. You're feeding her knuckle sandwiches, whether she's hungry or not. And Let's see. I'm just going to pull her. I have a sheet for her, and we'll see if she has any options to get out of here. So she is going to try to resist you. So as I said, she has this black bodysuit, black eyes, black hair. But as she's getting beat up here, she's going to basically activate her powers. And that bodysuit starts to like spread and ooze up over her face. And soon she just looks like a humanoid shadow in her entirety. There's no face in evidence. And she's essentially activated her power, her aura. She's radiating cold at this point. But that's really all she can do because she is dazed. So she gets one action rather than two actions. Now, Professor Leviathan just sees this and goes by and he's like, Tenebra, no! And let me see. I have a sheet that I've prepared for him as well. So he is going to shoot you in the back, Ilios, or he's going to try to. So what is your dodge?
5. So that would be 15, I think.
Perfect. Yes, sir. So he's rolled a 6, and his 2 hit is only +8, so he actually misses you. So he turns, and each of those kind of cybernetic octopus arms comes forward, and they each fire a bolt of darkness out of him, and the gem in the side of his head is radiating this black, inky, smoke-like energy as he activates these blasters. But with the distance, with you guys moving around along the wall, they're impacting around you, but not actually hitting you. Now, all the technicians, they're unarmed. They're working at their computers. They panic. They start to flee. They're getting out of there. And then an alarm goes off. Surely guards are being summoned, but there are none in evidence at the moment. And then we're to you, Mindless.
Okay, so Mindless is going to use his telekinetic ability to fly up the column to where he's facing his father, and he takes a step onto the column and says, "Hello, Father, we've got to talk."
He turns. At first, he thinks you're just another clone of you. And then his eyes go wide as he realizes you are the original. And he scowls at you and says, "You have been replaced, my child. There is nothing to discuss."
There's no replacing me. And then I'm going to try and have my psychic tentacle come out of my back and swing forward into his face.
Perfect. So roll fighting. You're looking for an 18 or better to hit the man.
Okay, hold on, I gotta pull another die out. That is a 16 on the die.
All right, so he's able to parry. Oh, 16 on the die.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you're only looking for 18 total. And your sheet, it looks like your telekinesis, you're +10. So it's a big time hit. So we'll make his toughness here. Your damage, it looks like, is 8 plus, of course, 15. So he's trying to beat 23. Let me go back to his sheet because he rolled a 14. His toughness is 12, so he's got 26. So you've hit him, but you haven't managed to do him any significant damage. So it's superficial damage. Describe what that looks like as your maybe your psychic tentacles and his mechanical tentacles are all flailing and whipping against each other.
That's exactly what's going on. And they're getting tangled together. He's parrying my tentacle with his tentacle, and I'm parrying his tentacle with my tentacle. It's just a mess of crazy things trying to slam into each other.
Perfect. And then we're back to Elios. So you've got Tenebra on the octopus fight. So you've got Tenebra on the ropes. You're feeding her punches. She's turned her powers on. What do you do?
Okay, so last time I punched her really, really strongly. Then I take her and throw her to the ground, and we're up in the air, so she's gonna fall very quickly for at least something like 20 feet, maybe. When she hits the ground, I slam my feet into her, like I descend, bang! And once I'm there, I use all my solar flare power, and I just blast light into her face.
All right, so make either a fighting or a ranged attack test, whichever one you're using mechanically. Let me see your sheet. Which one?
That would be a 19.
Okay, so let me just check. Now, are you using the blast or the fighting?
I'm using the fighting for the moment.
Okay.
Because the blasts are gonna be actually like close range.
Yeah. So her parry is only 14. You said you have 18, so that's a hit.
That would be 20 damage.
Okay, so her toughness is, she's rolled 23 on her toughness. So, yeah, so just like Mindless, you're able to do superficial damage, but she's able to largely withstand the attack. So describe, I guess you already have described, you throw her down.
Yeah, right now I'm over her. She's flat on the ground. I'm standing over her and just blasting light into her to destroy the darkness.
Perfect. See, so she's no longer dazed, but her powers are already activated. It doesn't make a huge difference at that point. So she's going to try to blast right back at you. So she's got 18 against your parry.
My parry is 18.
All right, so that's a hit. So make a toughness test, and her damage is 27.
Okay, I got 20. So I got 7 damage, and I'm dazed.
All right,
well,
yeah,
1
so
damage and I'm dazed.
Exactly. So one damage, and then you're dazed. So as you're hovering over her, blasting this light beam down, illuminating the whole chamber, she penetrates your beam with one of her own. She just comes up with just the one finger and a beam of darkness, this tiny pencil of void comes forth and maybe just slams into your chest and burns away at your light, sending you flying end over end, breaking your concentration. And then you kind of come to rest, floating in the air with this icy cold burn.
Yeah. The darkness, the blackness is just kind of spreading out like veins a little bit over my body, but my body, since it's also made of light partly, it just fights it and just start to disappear a little bit after a little while.
All right. And Professor Leviathan, he's actually going to, so he's in a slap tentacle fight. He's not liking this. So he coils his tentacles beneath himself and he leaps off to the side of the wall. He slams his tentacles into the side of the wall. and he's kind of hanging there. And he brings one of the tentacles off and fires that beam of black light, not directly at you, Mindless, but at the base of that huge control column. He slices it in half, and the column falls and slams into the side of the wall. So I'll get you to make a agility test or a levitation test. Probably levitation's better for you.
Yeah, levitation is what I'll do.
Yeah.
That's going to be...
I think you're +5 to levitation.
Yes, so that's going to be a 21.
All right, so you're on this control tower. It starts to fall, but you're able to leap off and catch yourself with the power of your mind. So you're now hovering, and then it's your turn.
Okay. Since I'm hovering, I'm going to go ahead and move towards Dr. Leviathan, where he's hanging on the wall. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my telekinetic field, and I'm going to try and pick up part of the column that's fallen and throw it at him.
Awesome. So make your ranged attack test. And again, his dodge is 18. So if you beat 18, you hit him.
Okay, I've got 16 on the die.
All right. That's definitely a hit. So he's going to make toughness against your damage. His toughness is 17. Yeah, so what's your damage on your telekinetic attack there? I think it is 8 plus 15. So 28, 30, 33 damage. Big time damage.
You'll never replace me!
See, I'm just trying to calculate the degrees of success on that. I think that's 3 degrees. So I believe that means he takes 2 wounds and he's dazed. Or no, it's 1 wound and he's not dazed, but he's stunned. So he can take no action on his next turn. All right, so describe what that looks like as it hits him. He's still conscious, but he's going to be completely dazed on his next turn. So how does this thing make impact with the professor?
So the column lifts up, the part of the column, and it flies over, and it doesn't hit Professor Leviathan. It hits the wall right under him. So he's still actually clinging to the wall. But there's like a shock wave that comes off it, and that shock wave is what hits him.
All right. So yeah, maybe he loses his grip on the wall, falls, splatters into the column, and then just rolls down onto the ground in a heap. And then we're back to you, Elios.
Okay, I really did not appreciate that last blast. So, on days I have 1 action, right?
Yep. So you can either attack or move. You can do one thing.
So, I'm gonna move to try again slamming myself into her, try to destroy that darkness that is surrounding her.
Okay. So you've moved into melee range.
Yep.
But you can't make your attack this turn.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's the bad guy's turn. Leviathan obviously cannot do anything. He's trying to pick himself up off the ground. Let me see if Tenebra has any useful options here. She's still like in a panic. She's in big trouble. Actually, Tenebra will. So she blasted you, but she's almost still in this crater where you had thrown her and just destroyed the floor. She looks over at Leviathan. He's all beat up. She looks at you, shining above her, and she'll actually raise up her hand and point it not at you, Elios, but at the ceiling of the dome. And she'll try to cut a hole in the ceiling to flood this chamber out.
Oh.
And because you're dazed, you can't interpose.
Yeah.
Mindless, I think you can, if you have an interpose, I think you can use it. If you want to take the hit instead of the ceiling.
How do I know if I have an interpose?
Let's just say that you do. It's usually an advantage, which is like a feat. I always recommend everybody to take interpose. I don't think it's on your sheet, but we'll say it is. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Well, then, yeah, he's going to go ahead and try and take the hit. Okay. And what he's going to do is he's going to fly up to where she's starting, and he's going to use his psychic tentacles to try and wrap around this beam of dark energy.
All right, so make a toughness test against a 27. That's her damage.
Okay, that's a 19 on the die, and let's see, my toughness is a 12.
So that's 22, is that right?
No, it's 19 on the die and 12. Hold on, I'm terrible at math.
31.
31, okay. So, yeah, you're able to take the hit with no ill effects at all then. So describe what that looks like. She's blasted at the ceiling, and then you...
Okay, so my psychic tentacles have actually wrapped around her beam of psychic energy, and it has it's tried to put it all into a ball.
Perfect.
Of all these writhing tentacles, and it's going to try and hold it there.
All right, and you're successful in that, and then it is your turn, Mindless.
Okay, well, Mindless is going to take this energy, this dark energy, and he's going to point it towards his father and go ahead and release it.
All right, I'll allow that, but make it ranged attack test there.
Oh, 1 on the die.
A natural 1.
A natural 1.
Okay, so we'll say that you missed him, because I like automatic success on a 20, and I like automatic fails on a 1. So you fire it, you miss him, so he's just able to roll out of the way, perhaps, and the floor just explodes around him. Black smoke is starting to fill the chamber, and then we're back to Elios.
So now I'm not dazed anymore, and I
Correct.
see that she's trying to punch a hole through the whole place. So I quickly fly up, grab the column that was embedded into the wall, take it, and slam it straight into Tenebra.
Perfect. Let's make a fighting test.
I'm going to say we should vote the column onto the team.
Yes.
Yep.
It's much more useful than Charter, that's for sure.
So that's 23.
All right, and her parry's only 14, so it's a big time hit. I'll make a toughness for her. She has rolled a 20. I think she's actually 31 toughness, so big time toughness.
So it doesn't do any damage.
And
she has
yeah,
a
what
column over her though.
Okay, so yeah, she's able to get her to form this black bubble of energy around herself, and you basically snap the column in half, smashing it against her force field. But she's able to take the hit without any appreciable damage. And then it is her turn, and the good doctor. Um, I'm not sure if he only recovers from stun or if he recovers both, but he's only making one attack anyway, so it doesn't much matter. So he is going to try to blast you, mindless. Let me just make sure I've got his to hit here. So he's got like 20 to hit. So what is your dodge, mindless?
My dodge is 8.
All right, so it's 8. Now, of course, you get +8 or +10 rather. So
Okay.
it's 18, but that's still a hit. So you make a toughness test. Now his damage is 27. So make a toughness test versus 27.
Okay, that's going to be 27.
Perfect. So you're fine. What we're gonna say. And Tenebra. So she's been blocked from blowing the ceiling. She'll try to blast you again then, Elios. I'm just going to get her accuracy here. 23 to hit your dodge.
"24."
All right. So she
misses me.
misses.
Barely miss me.
Perfect. And then we'll come back to mindless, I believe.
Okay. So Dr. Leviathan is stunned. And
No,
can't-
he's blasting away now with his energy, but he's did we say that he missed or that you absorbed it with your toughness?
That's right, I absorbed it.
Yeah, so he's blasting away with the ends of his tentacles, his black energy, but it's not able to penetrate your force field.
Okay. So what I want to do at this point is I want to try and telekinetically grab him and slam him into I'm sorry, I don't remember her name.
Tenebra, yeah.
Tenebra. So I'm just going to try and grab him and slam him directly into her.
Perfect. So make a ranged attack test through telekinesis.
That's going to be...
His
13.
Dodge. All right, so you're not able to pick him up then because he's got an 18 on his dodge. So he feels himself starting to lift off the ground, and he uses his tentacles to root himself back down. He pulls himself back, and he's trembling and shaking as you're trying to pull him up, but you're not quite able to lift him this turn. And then we're back to Elios.
Okay, so I just I've just let go of the column after I tried to hit Tenebra with it, and then I just go straight for her and try to punch her again, punch the
All right.
darkness away.
Roll fighting. And you're looking for 14 to hit.
Yeah, I've got 17.
Big time hit. And she's got, let's see, 21 toughness. What's your damage?
25.
All right. So again, she's stunned, and now she's at 2 wounds. She's taken another wound there. So what does that look like? She's still conscious, but she's getting beat up real bad now.
Yeah, now I'm just hanging on to her and try to like get the darkness away from her body. Try to punch it out simply, like with all the light I can put into my fist when I hit it. So that is just that simple. I'm just try to bash
Perfect.
her head in.
Hmm.
Well, not her head, but the darkness. Bash it
Yeah.
away.
So I'm trying
Is
to think
there,
if
by
she.
the way, is there any kind of? You said it kind of formed over her. Is there something I can try to grab to take the darkness out or something? Is there, I don't know, a gem, any kind of something that I would notice that could be emanating that darkness, or is it inside her?
Yeah, it's inside of her. I'm trying to think if you have any powers that might let you exercise that.
Well,
Yeah, I'm thinking, Ilios, that when you if you're the one who dispatches her, then you can describe it as exercising the darkness. I don't see anything on your sheet that would allow you to do it beforehand.
I have an idea of how I'm gonna hand
Sure.
this. Just
Yeah,
only when she's
if you
damaged
think you
enough.
have a power that would let you do that, I'd allow it. I just don't see anything on your sheet. But like you could say it's your, you could make like you have the power Eternity of Light. You could make a test plus 10 against her willpower to see if you can exercise her.
Okay.
I'd probably allow that.
Okay. Gonna be able to do that on next round then.
Okay. Um, so yeah, we're back to her turn. So she's getting a beat down put on her. I'm trying to think if she can do anything really useful to try to get away from you here. I guess she would just try to turn up her darkness aura to try to, uh, try to deal some damage against you, uh, and make herself so cold that you're forced to let go of her.
That could
So I'll
be
get you to make a toughness test.
okay.
It's only going to be against DC of 18, though. So her
23.
aura is not very strong.
I got 23.
Yeah, so she's trying to make herself too cold to hold, but you're so.
My light energy, my solar energy, just too powerful to be able to be damaged by that darkness. I'm flaring out actually at this moment.
Exactly. Let's see. So Professor Leviathan might use his tentacles. You're trying to pull him up off the ground, mindless. He might use one of his tentacles to like grab onto maybe like a girder or a piece of that column and just whip it towards you like a boomerang. And he's hoping that your telekinesis will suck it into you like it's a gravity field or a tractor beam. I don't think that's how your telekinesis works, but maybe that's what he thinks. He actually rolled very high to hit. 25 to hit. What is your dodge?
My dodge is 8.
8. So it's going to be plus 10. So 18 total. Remember, everything gets a plus 10 except damage, which is plus 15.
Right.
So that is still a hit then. So make a toughness test against his damage. So it'll be 27 damage you're trying to resist.
That'll be 26.
All right. So you take one wound, but you're not dazed. So all that means is your future toughness saves against damage are going to be at -1. So it's easier for him to damage you now. So yeah, he's taken up this girder. He's thrown it at you. It's hit you, caused you some superficial damage. You're still in the fight, though. It is your turn, Mindless.
Okay, I'm going to stop trying to lift him up, and I'm going to use my telekinesis to try and squeeze the gem in his ear and get it to explode on him.
Perfect. So make a ranged attack.
That's going to be 17 plus 10 is 27.
Okay, big time hit. I'll get a toughness test. He's got 31 toughness. So what's the damage on your telekinesis there?
The damage is... Oh, here we go. Okay, I guess I don't know how to read this stat block right.
Just take whatever the damage is and add 15 to it. So you're down under offense. You got telekinesis. First one is the attack plus 10. Second one is the it says grab, but we're going to use that as damage. So it's 8.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, plus 15. So 33, if my math is right.
Yes.
Okay. And he has rolled, said 22. Was it 33 or is it 20? It was 23, not 33. Sorry, that's my bad math. 8 plus 15. That can't be 30. Okay. And he rolled a 9, and he has got a plus 10, so it's 19. So it's another wound on Professor Leviathan. So he's still conscious, but now he's got -2 toughness. He's got 2 wounds on him. So maybe that crystal is like cracking and oozing out black darkness, and his skin is starting to get infected by the darkness. And he's like screaming and grabbing his head.
And the darkness is spreading through his veins on his face.
Yes. And we're back to Elios.
Okay, so I'm right next to Tenebra, and I use my hands and just try to touch her with all the light I can muster, with the eternity of light and my solar flares and everything, and just become very, very bright, trying to break that darkness that surrounds her just by the sheer force of the light that I can emit. That would be a roll. Just a second. Roller. Oh, nice. 29. I rolled a 19.
All right. So is that a melee attack is what we're rolling?
I rolled a straight out power. My eternity of light is like 10. It's kind of a, I would say sort of a, yeah, it could be, kind of a unarmed attack trying to get that light to break this darkness.
Okay, so yeah, if we're using an unarmed attack, then we'll go against her parry. Her parry's only 14. You said you rolled in the 20s.
29.
Well, yeah, so that's definitely a hit. So is that going to be resisted by fortitude, toughness, or will? What do you think?
I would say will.
I'm thinking fortitude.
Fortitude.
Will?
Okay.
We can do will. Will sounds good to me. They're pretty much the same. It's 7 or 8 on her sheet, so it doesn't make a huge difference. So she has rolled 15. Her will is +8. So it's 23. And for this, I'm thinking, do you think you should get 15 or just 10 on this effect? I guess 15 because you had to make an attack roll.
Okay.
So does that mean the DC is 25?
Yeah.
I
25.
believe. Yeah. So she's failed that then. So that's going to be another point of damage, and she's actually. I think that's going to take her right out of the fight because she's already got -2. So with that -2, I think she's all done.
Okay. So
So describe how you exorcise the darkness from this poor girl.
Yeah. So I'm right next to her, and I just touch her with all the light I can muster, breaking up this darkness. The light is so strong that the darkness actually starts to break and just splash everywhere. Problem is, it starts to engulf me. So I get sucked by this darkness and fall to the ground. I lose my next round.
All right. And so now, you've pulled the darkness out. Now all that's left is this girl, like shivering on the floor, as the darkness has been pulled out of her. And she might actually be like, naked and beat up, and just she looks like she's really been through the ringer, and she's looking around confused. Who knows how many months she's been possessed by this evil spirit from another dimension. So she's, looking very traumatized. Professor Leviathan, as this darkness is broken and exorcised, maybe his gem returns to its normal color. What is that, Kevin?
I think that's going to be green, is the normal color.
So it returns to this green color, that dark black inkiness that's been flowing into his veins from the cracked jewel fades, and maybe he shakes his head and the blackness clears from his eyes, and he looks over at Tenebra and he sees that she's been restored to her original form when he first met her before the blackness and the evil took hold. His mind is now clear. He still doesn't like you, mindless. He was empowered but not completely possessed by the darkness, because he's already pretty evil dude.
Yeah. There might be a ray of hope for him, since the darkness seems to have tried to get into me as I destroyed it from Tenebra.
Mm-hmm. So Professor Leviathan, he looks over. His control room is destroyed. His ally is down. He's still pretty beat up. His power's now been drained. I think he'll probably surrender at that point. And he'll fall to his knees and look up at you and say, "You've beaten me then, child. Do with me what you will."
You'll face justice, as you should. I'll take you before a court and let them decide whether you're guilty or innocent.
He sneers up at you. "If you were my true child, you'd have the strength to kill me."
I'm truer than the clones you have.
He just looks disgusted at this outcome. That you're strong enough to defeat him, but not morally strong enough to take his place. So this for him is the worst of defeats. It's maybe at that time that that Charter appears on the scene. The Shark Man bursting in through the walls, snarling and looking around. And he just looks confused, like, did I miss it? Did I miss the battle?
Yes, you missed it.
Oh, and he just looks very disappointed and
So
slowly shapeshifts back to his normal form.
at this point, I rise from the ground because I was fighting this darkness that came on me. And as I rise, my costume has changed. Now my cloak is still pure white, but the body of my suit is now black with golden rays, as
That's
if
not good.
I've absorbed this darkness to contain it within myself, to make sure that my light keeps it within and not outside to destroy the world. When I finish rising, I see the girl on the floor, and I take my cloak and put it around her just to make sure that she does not feel the shame
Mhm.
of her nakedness. Everything will be fine, child. It's over now. I've controlled it.
She'll like cling to you and just start crying into your chest, like she's so grateful that you've saved her from this mind control that's been directing her into evil deeds.
Mindless is going to tell Charter, we need to get all of the clones together, see if there's like a meeting room in here. I've got to talk to them.
All right. So if you can go on even like the intercom and try to call them forward. What do you do? How do you pull them together? What do you say to them? And we can narrate an epilogue here. What becomes of this clone army?
Well, Mindless is going to get on the intercom and he's going to say, "Brothers, I have defeated our father. There's no reason to fear him anymore. His hold is broken on you. Join me. I'll rise you up as a nation of clones. You can still operate in the base here, but you can work for good science and the betterment of mankind."
That's awesome. So this is like Mindless has just got himself a superhero headquarters full of clones of himself.
Nice.
And maybe that's awesome. So in future adventures with Mindless, you can call on the aid of your clones. Maybe get some clone battle suits going on with the crab claw blasters.
Yeah.
And a crab mobile going on.
Crab man. Crab man.
So Mindless has created a nation beneath the waves that's now loyal to science and justice, and maybe starting like a clone dating site to get some women down here.
They're sorely needed.
Yes. What about Professor Leviathan? You think you get him back to the surface, put him on trial? What do you think becomes of the good doctor?
Well, I should hope that he ends up in jail, but that they allow him enough science that he can write a couple scholarly papers, perhaps on the nature of this dark energy that he discovered.
All right. So he too is being put to work for the betterment of mankind, as much as we're able to. Do you have an epilogue for Elios? Sam, what do you think happens to Elios in his new black costume?
Well, Elios, from this point on, is going to try to keep an eye out to see if there's more of this darkness within this world, hoping that it's the last remnant he will see of this terrible darkness, and hopefully not see it again. However, he's going to try to fight it as much as he can as well, if he should he ever finds it again. But from this point on, he's just gonna keep doing the good fight and bring the greater good of humanity as much as he can.
Perfect. So I think that's a great epilogue. Had a lot of fun, guys. You have anything to plug before we go off YouTube? Assuming the feed is not corrupted like it usually is.
Well, I, for one, I would like to promote maybe my Facebook page. Its name. It's the Chronicles of the Fractured World. It's for my series of books that I'm writing right now. The Chronicles of the Fractured World. The first book should be out this spring, and if you want to keep in touch and see what's happening, see weekly news about where I am, how far I got into my writing for the book and the series and everything. There's some. Here's the link. You just have to search on Facebook, Chronicles of a Fractured World. And I don't want to spoil too much yet, but in the following weeks there should be some big announcement, and some pretty nice prize might be coming the way of my followers. So everyone is welcome. And if you want an update about my books, or if you have any questions, don't be ashamed or don't be scared to ask me on Facebook. Search for Samuel Richard. That's me, and I'll be delighted to answer your questions.
Perfect. What about you, Kev? Do you have a Facebook or an Instagram or a YouTube channel or a blog or anything like that to plug?
I do actually. I am an editor, a contributing editor on the Sunflower Collective. We are a Beat and Hungry Generation inspired blog. So Beat Generation is like Allen Ginsberg, guys like that. We publish new poetry in both English and in Hindu. And so if you're interested, go ahead and check us out.
Very cool. And thank you both for playing and participating. If we have any viewing audience, thank you for putting up with our rambling. I think we'll sign off of YouTube now.